Hey, welcome to Half the Battle, and welcome back to Main Character May!
We're continuing our look at Serpentor.
And today, we'll be taking a look at the character, starting with the Filecards.
The first thing to note is that there's no real name, place of birth, or military specialty on the card. It simply says Serpentor, Cobra Emperor. And that makes sense once you get to know his origin. But then, why do they still call Serpentor his code name? I mean, it's the only name he has.
Unless Cobra registered his birth as Dirk Snakeson or something.
Serpentor was the product of a secret cabal of Cobra scientists under the direction of Destro and the Interrogator.
The who with the what now?
This guy? A character that didn't exist in 1986? Yeah, no, they mean Dr. Mindbender. At one point, Mindbender was gonna be called the Interrogator, and that snuck into this file card. This is actually the second time they got his name wrong, as the comic introduced him as Dr. Brainwave. Anyway, they combed the tombs and relics of history's greatest despots for DNA to create a composite clone.
And just whose DNA makes up Serpentor?
Well, it's slightly different for each form of media. As far as the original file card goes, it's Julius Caesar, Hannibal, no, not that one, the leader of Carthage, Attila the Hun, and Napoleon. These DNA samples give him military genius, ruthlessness, daring, and, from Attila the Hun, fiscal acumen? Wait, so Attila the Hun was good at filling out his tax forms? And so is Serpentor?
A warrior that's good at taxes, eh?
Hi RS, how you been, man? Actually, it probably refers to Attila getting yearly tribute from the Roman Empire, a crap ton of gold, in exchange for peace. A tax, if you will. Adding Attila to the mix is a bit of a problem, since to this day, nobody knows where he's buried, so they couldn't have gotten his DNA.
Later file cards don't add much, but there are two interesting tidbits.
Cards of the repaint figures add that the goal of the DNA gathering was specifically to create a leader dedicated to evil, which is a bit problematic since none of those historical figures could be classified as pure evil. And I mean, if that was their goal, they would have mixed in Stalin and Hitler. But for obvious reasons, that would be a bridge too far for a line of children's toys. The file cards for the new body construction figures, for some goddamn reason, repeat the error of calling Mindbender the Interrogator. I thought at first that they just cut and pasted the original file card and called it good, but no, there are small differences in the text, so this was a deliberate screw-up.
It boggles the mind.
Now, there is one more file card, but it's based on the cartoon version of the character, so I'll touch on that when we discuss the cartoon. For now, we're gonna move on to the comics. Serpentor appeared in the comics from issue 49 to 77, so 28 comics total. That's a lot to get through.
I have to read all that? Damn it!
Oh, I'm just kidding. I love reading the comic, and the Serpentor issues have a few of the best storylines ever seen in G.I.Joe. Serpentor is rather unique in the comic, as he's the only character we see all the way from his birth to his death.
Oh yeah, spoilers, I guess.
He first shows up in issue 49, where he's created using DNA from 10 people from history, as well as that of Storm Shadow. While we never get a full list, in the comic, his DNA includes that of Genghis Khan, Julius Caesar, Napoleon, and of course Storm Shadow. The comic also explains how he gets his knowledge, since that isn't stored in DNA. They used a brainwave scanner to fill his brain with everything known about the historical figures, and Mindbender adds all that he knows about current events in general, and the Joes and Cobra in particular. Serpentor emerges from his vat, buck naked, just as the Joes are attacking. By the way, since I don't see an umbilical cord, does that mean we can assume Serpentor doesn't have a belly button? I mean, we see his exposed torso a few times, and only once is there even a hint of a navel.
These are the hard scientific questions that keep me up at night, people.
Anyway, Serpentor rallies the troops and is able to outmaneuver the Joes, so every single Cobra can escape from Springfield, a town that functioned as their headquarters. Cobra Commander realizes that the Ultimate Warrior
Shove that control into a nosedive, Hulk Hogan.
Let me rephrase that.
Cobra Commander realizes that the Ultimate Soldier would also be the Ultimate Leader, so he gets worried.
I'm gonna go through the rest of the issues pretty quickly, just focusing on Serpentor. So, if I don't mention something, it's purely for the sake of brevity.
As Serpentor and the evacuees from Springfield arrive at Cobra Island, the commander has decided to have him assassinated, since this great warrior is a threat to his rule. Anticipating this, Serpentor has his chopper land out of position and quickly jumps out and embraces the commander, so the snipers have no shot. The escaped Cobra forces land, and now Serpy is a hero, so killing him would lead to riots. A little later, he gets his costume and air chariot, with the riders getting a little dig-in saying it's too regal.
It's a subtle FU to the toy.
This is undermined somewhat by having Dr. Mindbender say it. Yeah, clothing criticism from a reject of the Rocky Horror Picture Show doesn't quite have the sting you're looking for. Anyway, Cobra Commander has another trick up his sleeve. He's instructed Zartan and the Dreadnoks to disguise themselves as Joes and take out Serpentor. He once again anticipates this, and thanks to the Baroness and Destro, the plan is foiled. He uses this apparent attempt on his life by the Joes as a reason to rally Cobra and launch an attack on G.I.Joe headquarters, while at the same time wresting power from the commander. During the assault on the pit, Cobra Commander, desperate to retain control, elects to lead the operation himself from the front, with Destro tagging along. The result being the pit explodes, seemingly killing Destro and Old Ragface, meaning that Serpentor is now in complete and undisputed control of Cobra. During his time as leader, his main accomplishments are turning Cobra into an arms dealership of sorts, selling terror drones.
There's an ulterior motive there, but I'm not gonna get into it here because, brevity.
He also opens the Cobra Consulate building in New York, though that plan was already underway before he was born. All seems to go swimmingly for Serpy, until Cobra Commander returns. Yes, I know, remember, brevity. And so they're back to ruling Cobra side by side. Yeah, that doesn't last long. They're both plotting against each other, and during a heated argument, things get physical and lead to perhaps the greatest storyline in the entire comic series.
It's only the Cobra Civil War!
I won't go into too much detail here, but suffice to say, it's frickin' awesome. Serpentor's forces get help from the US government and thus the Joes because, well, for one thing, Cobra recently stole a valuable top-secret piece of equipment, and Mindbender has promised to give it back. And for another thing, they're backing a parliamentary monarchy against a fascist dictatorship under Cobra Commander's rule. Yeah, just for clarity, at this point in the comics, Cobra Island was a legit sovereign country.
By the way, at the beginning of the war, it's hinted that Serpentor may not be as stable as everybody had hoped.
At one point, he is momentarily overcome with different voices in his head yelling strategies at him. Sadly, due to the way the story ends, this never gets followed up on. The civil war goes back and forth, but in the end, Serpentor's forces are on the cusp of winning. All seems lost for Cobra Commander, until Zartan takes matters and a bow into his own hands, and personally shoots an arrow through Serpentor's eye, ending the war and the Emperor's life. We last see his body in issue 77, packed in ice, but nothing comes of that.
Well, not in the Marvel series anyway.
Yeah, it's comics, so unless you're a parent or guardian of a superhero, you never stay dead. Serpentor was cloned again in the Image series and others. And there were a bunch of clones. Yeah, that's right, G.I.Joe got its own damn clone saga.
Duh.
In the comics, Serpentor was highly intelligent, a master manipulator, and politician. He was also brave and fierce. While Cobra Commander led through indoctrination, brainwashing, and fear, Serpentor used political manipulation and inspiring his troops with speeches and brave deeds, leading from the front.
That last part was also his undoing.
He started by leading his troops, putting himself in danger and taking fire in his first story, and he did the same in his last. The only reason Zartan was able to take the shot was because Serpentor insisted on being at the front so his troops would keep respecting him. In conclusion, Serpentor's portrayal in the comics was excellent and made you care about the character. No small feat considering the silly premise. It's a testament to the brilliance of Larry Hama, the writer, that Serpentor became awesome in his comic appearances.
In the cartoon, however...
Cobra! La, 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 la.
Oh boy. But that will have to wait. Next week, we're gonna take things easy and look at a short comic story featuring Serpentor. After that, we'll be delving into the cartoon. Well, I'll see you next time, everybody. And hey, why not like, share, and subscribe if that's your thing?